Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you're joining us from. This is the first episode of the Niger FC podcast, the Niger Football Chronicles podcast, featuring myself, AyoT. You might know me from Eagle Striker, and of course, my co host,
Smith Layi.
our Nigerian football encyclopedia. And I mean, we have a third co-host who is not with us today, but will be joining us on future episodes. I'm talking about OJB from OJB Sports. We're going to be bringing you Nigerian football gist. The latest rumors, gossip, everything. No holds barred. We don't care about people's feelings on this show. We're going to be telling you as it is, as we see it, and we hope that we keep you entertained. From now and throughout the season that is to come. Okay, this is the first episode, so we're going to keep it a little bit light and short, but we want to be able to hit on some very important topics that we have in football. Of course, as we all know, the Women's World Cup is coming up in just less than I say 2 weeks now. And the
Well,
Super Falcons of
just
Nigeria,
like
of course, are going to be
ages.
taking part.
Just like
Yeah,
ages.
it is. Thank you very much. And the Super Falcons of Nigeria are going to be taking part. It's a big one for us. We're one team that have been in every edition of the tournament. I mean, we're yet to win it, but maybe 2023 could be a year. Who knows? To talk about the Super Falcons and the tournament that's coming up, we are in Group B with Olympic champions Canada. We also have the co-hosts Australia in our group, and then we have the Republic of Ireland. I mean, consensus most people have said is that our group is probably the toughest group of the tournament. But then I think it also speaks to or it would speak to our ability if we're able to come out of that group. It will show that we have a good crop of players, a good team, a good squad, and maybe this is the year that we'll actually get past the quarterfinal stage. Who knows? Okay, Smith Layi, let's kick it off with the Super Falcons World Cup preparation. I mean, the first thing that has been in the news for the past 2 to 3 weeks now is the Gbasgbos, the battle between the NFF, the Nigerian Football Federation, and the head coach of the Super Falcons, Randy Waldrum. I mean, the coach has called them out on more than one occasion now. Speaking about lack of payments, lack of support, lack of funding. We've also heard rumors about the girls potentially boycotting. It's just been a lot of chaos, leading up to the tournament. What are your thoughts on everything that's going on?
It's not a good sign when you are preparing for the biggest women's football tournament in the world and you have this issue, and sometimes I saw the response from the federation, but from my own opinion, you can ignore the messenger, but you have to see the message. The message is clear. The
Mm.
man has clearly not been supported, to be honest with you, with preparations. And out of all the teams that will be participating at this World Cup, probably the Super Falcons are the least prepared team. We have to be honest with ourselves on that occasion. And what do you expect from him? Because at the end of the day, if you cannot gather your girls for close like 2 weeks and you only have like less than 2 weeks to prepare them, no friendly games before the tournament, how can you assess yourself? So I think that these brass balls is not what should come out. It's what should like sit down and resolve it. But the man said something, and I'll pick it out. He said that he called the general secretary. The message there, no response. Nobody actually what responded to him. I think that was one of the reasons why he actually what came out and actually what. So this is what is happening. Nigerians should actually what air all these things. Maybe probably if the general secretary responded to him, the NFF president responded to him, maybe some of these things must just be covered up. But it's so sad that we're going to these tournaments preparing like this, and I don't think it's go. I'm patriotic, I'm optimistic, but it's just day by day. You just feel like this and that tournament again. Yeah.
No, and I think I share your sentiment there. It's rather unfortunate that this whole thing was coming up leading up to the tournament. But like you said, the coach might have felt like his hand was forced. When he's trying to get his team together, he's trying to select his squad, and they're not even replying to his messages. We're not talking about your friend that annoys you and you say, okay, you're not going to reply them. We're talking about the coach trying to take the team to the World Cup. and then nothing from the NFF. So he probably felt like his hand was forced. And knowing that, frankly, everybody has been seeing is that his time with the Super Falcons is coming to an end, he probably just said, you know what, let me just, shake the whole table. Let me just let everybody know what's going on before I leave this position. I'm taking these girls to the World Cup. I don't want to be, killing myself, and then the people that are actually from that country are not killing themselves to get things in
Yes.
order. Like you said, we are probably, I don't want to say definitely just because I'm not following every national team like that, but we are probably the least prepared team for this tournament. Today is we're recording this on the 12th of July. The tournament kicks off on the 21st for us. And till today, we've not had any official friendly match, scheduled. I heard from a Super Falcons player that we are going to play a friendly on Saturday. Um, but then I asked the player, "Oh, who are you playing against?" The player said, "They never tell us so." So, so we're supposed to play a game 3 days from now, but even the players don't know who they are playing against. So I don't know how that works. They're probably just scrambling last minute
Yes,
to
it's
try to organize. It will probably be a closed door training friendly, if anything. But yeah, we don't know who we're facing. It's so laughable, honestly. What do you think about that, Sweetly?
yeah, it's we do things in a different way, and sometimes I just imagine that is this how we're going to continue? You can't continue to do the same thing and you expect different results. Teams are Zambia. They're playing the World Cup for the first time. They played against Germany, against Ireland, against Switzerland. So there you can see clearly that I watched the game against Germany. It was a very big improvement to the Zambia team that played against Nigeria in the third place game in AFCON. So you test yourself against the best in the world. It's not just calling, small teams, just similar to the other national teams too. I remember Golden England playing 10 friendly games against academies on the roadside. It's not the best way to actually prepare for a tournament. And just to point to what that man said, he said that we used to be arrogant about the talent we have in Nigeria. That reality will strike us when they fail to qualify for the World Cup. When the Super Falcons fail for the first time to qualify for the World Cup, then we now know that we have to prepare ourselves next time. So I just think that the NFF will learn from this if they are even listening, and we hope for a better communication and better outing next time. That's my opinion.
And just to hop on what you said about Zambia, one thing that I was honestly impressed with Zambia is that in every game they played, they scored at least 2 goals. They scored two in one game and they scored 3 goals in the two other matches. I mean, African teams, we know that our defense can always be shaky, but if you have that firepower in attack, it can always lead you to a good outing. I mean, look at Zambia playing against teams that we are going to face, a team that we're going to face in the tournament. That team has clearly organized the friendly to be able to prepare themselves for African opposition. Whereas we are still waiting to hear who we are even going to play, if at all the match actually comes to pass. Um, I mean, I'm supporting the Super Falcons. I'm really wishing them all the best. I want to believe that we can find a way to scale from our group, but at the end of the day, we know that it's going to be done just on the hard work and the talent of our players. I mean, we even saw that after getting to Australia, more disappointment came, when the players started hearing that they're not going to get their bonuses, and it's things like this that's just upsets you because you wonder why Nigeria doesn't like to do things the proper way and why we just don't do things the way they're supposed to be done. Pay everybody their due, give them the right tools to do the job, and at the end of the day, we'll reap the rewards of our investment. And even when they think about the money thing, sometimes these things would even help generate more income for the team in the long run when they're able to publicize the team better, are able to put the team on a nice stage. I mean, look at Zambia now beating Germany in that friendly. People that do not know about Zambia national team now will be watching them, will be looking at them carefully. That
Yeah,
who are these girls? Unfortunately, their goalkeeper got injured and she's missing the tournament. I forget her name right now.
yeah,
Um, but I know their goalkeeper suffered an ACL injury just a couple days ago.
yeah.
Um, so that's what I'm unfortunate. But I mean, Nigeria, hopefully we can go there and we can impress. It will be sad if we are one of the poorest African sides at the tournament. Um, but
Mm.
yeah, I want to have faith in I want to have faith in the girls. I believe in the players that we have. Um, Before we move on to the next one, I want to ask you. I was looking at the 2019 team today, and not to call her out or anything, but I was just like, what happened to Chidinma Okeke? You know, I remember she played at that 2019 World Cup. She was supposed to be the future right back star for Nigeria,
Mhm.
you know. And now, just looking at it 4 years later, she's not even playing active football anywhere that you can really mention. She's far away from the Super Falcons squad. She hasn't been in the team in a very long time. You
Yeah,
know, it's incredible how things can change in 4 years.
yeah, yeah. Let me just ask a few things. That I saw her play under 20 football with Chidozie, the goalkeeper. So I saw her play with
Chiamaka
Rashida
Nnadozie.
Chichiama Kanadozie. I saw her play with Rashida Yebade too. And that same team, I think there was this lady in Benfica, Christine Shebe. I think she was actually was there too in that tournament. They played under 20. And clearly you can see that she's like the star of that defense. So I think she was playing central defense then. So I was highly optimistic that, I think we have someone like Florence Omagwe, Hikel Majai coming up again. And deservedly,
Hmm.
the coach, what's he called? Thomas Denebi then, actually took him to
Yeah.
what's it called? That World Cup. I saw her very impressed. But I think the game that did not really that I saw and I realized a decline in that game was against Portugal. Against Portugal in the friendly game when I think we scored. They scored us 3-1, and we came back 3-3 in that game where Rashida scored like a
In the
last.
USA Summer Series
Yeah,
in
the USA
2021.
Summer Series. You see, I think he scored an own goal then. You realize that
Hmm.
there's something going on. And like I asked about, I think we were doing like a program then during the World Cup, during the AFCON, then in Morocco. I think she came to the live then. I thought she was trying to come back, going for trade and everything. But it's quite unfortunate that someone like that will be missing at this party. It's so sad. Let me just brush up about the general thing about Super Falcons. The first time we went to the World Cup, that was in 91. We didn't score a goal. So it was under Coach Joe Bonfrey then. I think it was under Coach Bonfrey then. So we went to the next one we went. Well, that was 95. We scored. That was our first goal was scored by Rita and Wadike. Rita Wadike. That was the first goal. So at least you can see improvement. The next one we went was that was 1999. We went to the quarterfinals. We lost narrowly to Brazil. In fact, we came from 3 goals down to draw 3-3. But unfortunately, since that tournament, we've only qualified out of our group once. That was in 2019. So I just hope that these girls can rewrite history. These girls can actually put their name on words. They can write history and defy odds and take us to, where we have never been this tournament. They should not take us to where we don't know, but they should take us to where we have never actually been in this tournament. That is it.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one. Let's move forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's look at our first opponents. For those of us in North America, the game is at night on July 20th.
Mhm,
And for people in in Nigeria and in Europe, is at 3:30 a.m. On July 21st. Our
mhm,
opening game of the Women's World Cup 2023 against Olympic champions Canada. I
mhm,
mean, Canada is not going to be an easy match, but I would say it's a team that we know fairly well. We
mhm,
played them twice in April of 2022 in
mhm,
two international friendlies. In the first game, we lost 2-0 against them. And in the
mhm.
second game, we beat them, rather, we drew 2-2. We were so close to beating
So
them. And then they scored a late equalizer in BC. Let me just go through the Canada squad very, very quickly. Three goalkeepers. They have Killian Sheridan, who plays for San Diego Wave. They have Sabrina D'Angelo, who plays for Arsenal, and they have Lysiane Pro, who plays for SCE Torrens in Portugal. Their defenders, Kadisha Buchanan for Chelsea, former Champions League winner, fantastic defender. They have Gabriel Carl, Washington Spirit, Alicia Chapman for Houston Dash, teammate of Michelle Alozier. They have Vanessa Giles, Olympic Lyon. They have Ashley Lawrence, player for Chelsea. They have Jade Riviere, Manchester United, Shelina Zadowski for Tottenham. Um, One thing that I like and that I found very interesting about the Canadian team, when you move on to their midfielders, they have Jesse Fleming of Chelsea, they have Julia Grosso of Juventus, they have Queen of OL Reign in the US, they have another teammate of Michelle Alozier, Sophie Schmidt. And then finally, they have a Nigerian Canadian going to the World Cup for them. Her name is Simisola Awujo.
Mm-hmm.
She's still a university kid. She plays for University of Southern California. And just like we have two university players that are going to the World Cup for us,
Yeah.
Canada also has a university player that happens to be a Nigerian, Simsola.
Yeah.
Um, so I found that quite interesting. And then forwards, they have Olivia Smith of Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
They have Jordan Hutama, fantastic player of OL Reign. They have Chloe Lacasse, former teammate of Christy Uchebe. She just moved from Benfica to Arsenal now. They have Adriana Leon, who plays for Portland Thorns. They have Diane Rose for Reading. They have Nichelle Prince, another teammate of Michelle Lozier, Houston Dash. They have Evelyn Vance, who plays for Kristianstad in Sweden. And then they have their captain, their legend, their top goal scorer. I think she's even the top goal scorer in all of women's international football. Christine Sinclair.
Yeah.
You know, the one that scored that beautiful chip goal against us in the friendly we played.
Yeah.
So hearing the Canadian team, they have players scattered all over the world. A lot of them playing in England for the top teams in England. A lot of them play for the teams in the USA. What do you think of our chances against Canada?
You know, so be honest, we are going there as underdog. And I like that in some
Mm,
scenarios because at least we know that we are not under pressure to win. So we know that
mm,
we're not going to have the ball. We have to sit back. So, and I think that the game, they are favorite to win the game. But I can't underrate the Super Falcons because, we've seen a closely matched, we've seen games like that can actually swing either way. So I think we have a big chance against them. So don't forget too that, they have the arrogance actually working with them because don't forget that they beat Australia twice last year, in the space of like 3 days. They've been having it good in their friendly games. So they lost narrowly to America last year. So I think that they'll be favorite confident to actually win this game. But in tournaments, historically, they've not been having it so good against Nigeria. Nigeria, I can see, we beat them in 2003. I think that was in 2011 or so. I think we actually beat them in the World Cup, like 1-0 scored by Papentra and Kocha. So I think that it's a game that we have to get something out of, unfortunately. But
mm.
because the other games will not be actually be easy, but at least the draw is going to be fine. I think that we can win, we can draw that game at least. I think so.
Oh, and one thing to note is that Canada, they're like us. They've not played any friendlies um,
Yes.
before this before
Yes.
this World Cup.
Hmm.
They are also having issues. But I mean, on a normal day, we know that their setup is much better than ours. And I also think that we have the ability to potentially upset Canada, like you said. They're Olympic champions, so they are favorite for this game. But we have the opportunity to potentially upset them. I think it really comes down to one, the team selection on that day, who
Hmm.
the coach decides to play, and two, the concentration and focus of our players. Canada have quality in attack, just like the same way we have quality in attack. But I
Yes.
think if our coach selects the right defenders, we
Hmm.
should be able to do a fairly good job of controlling them. Somebody like Kristen Sinclair is always going to be a threat when she's on the field.
Yeah.
A player like Jordan Hutama
Hmm.
is somebody that we have to watch very, very closely. And then Chloe Lacasse. If you don't watch women's football, you wouldn't know her. But if you watch women's football, you will know her. Chloe Lacasse is another dangerous player. She likes to get in from deep and score goals. She likes to score crucial goals as well for her side. If the coach decides to mix up our defense too much, and maybe he plays, I would say, Ibionome in defense alongside Ohale, I think we can easily get the run around.
Hmm.
Um, if the players are not that quick on their feet, if they're not that quick to react, we can easily get the run around. And at the same time, we have to be very focused in that game. No silly mistakes. Before today, I was doing a rewatch of some games that we played in the past and an analysis on our team. And then you look at, like, for example, the game we played against USA in 2021. Where we scored, essentially, I think we scored two own goals.
Yes.
One by Onome and one by Tosin Dimeng.
Yes.
And I think certain small issues like that, just being in a bad position that you're not able to clear the ball properly, things like that, we need to be able to avoid it in this game against Canada.
Set
Our
pieces too.
focus needs to be there. If set pieces exactly. If you even look at the game that we lost against Canada, the 2-0, same thing. Silly mistakes in defense, they capitalize on it and they scores. Even the 2-2 game that we played, same thing. We just are not able to stay focused 100% for the 90 plus minutes of the match. And I think it's something that is going to be very important for us. I mean, we already know that Rashidat and Halimatu Ainde are not going to be playing in
First.
that game. So I
Mhm.
think it's also going to be important to see how the coach sets us up in midfield, because I don't think that we want to lose that midfield battle. I believe that we need to compete with them in midfield properly. Jesse Fleming of Chelsea is a very good midfielder. And if we let her have her way in that midfield, it's going to be a difficult one for us. She'll be linking up with our players fairly easily. Christy Uchebe is going to have her work cut out. Uchebe is going to have to do a lot of work against Canada. I'm happy because Uchebe, at least she knows Chloe Lacasse fairly well. So she'll maybe know what to do against her, how to better prepare.
Huh?
But it's going to be an interesting one. Um, are they going to throw Deborah Abiodun into the mix and ask her to start first game of the World Cup just like that? I don't know. If they ask her to play, how well is she going to be able to cope with the pressure? How well is she going to be able to deal with it? And how do we find that right balance between defending well in midfield, but also still having some threats to be able to move with the ball in attack? We've seen the coach several times when we play against these North American sides. The coach has been playing Rashidat as his attacking midfielder. With Rashidat missing, who is going to fill that gap? Is it going to be Tony Payne? Is it going to be a Chegini?
Mhm.
These are questions that I would like to see answered. I think team selection is very important. And also going forward, how are we going to find the right balance? Our attack is one area that we are blessed.
Yes.
We have Oshuala, of course, best player in Africa, which is in our team. We have Opera Nozier, who is a physical presence,
Yes.
experienced player. She's in
Yes.
the squad as well.
Mhm.
We have players like Uche Nakanu who can produce something when given the opportunities to run at players.
Yes.
We have a player like Esther Okoronkwo who has also shown us that she has a lot of quality. I'm really interested to see how the coach is going to mix and match. Is he going to play two strikers up front? Is he going to play one striker and then play two players down the flanks? Is Tony Payne going to play as a winger rather than a midfielder?
Yes.
So many questions to be answered. But I think that if we can set up properly, we can definitely upset them. Finally, I would say I would like us to add a little bit of dynamism to our game, add a little bit of creativity. It doesn't always have to be just long ball. Let them chase and let
Yes.
them just run and try to create something out of it. If we can string a few passes here and there and try to put together some combinations in attack, the Canadian defense is good, no doubt about that. They have Ashley Lawrence, they have Kadisha Buchanan. No doubt they have good players, but we can get the job done. We just have to set up well, combine well, and hopefully we can get a result. What do you think?
Yes, I also agree with you straight away that that we can get result in that game. And for me, what has been a major problem, is like set pieces. When the deep that's when they actually
Mhm.
work corner kicks and everything. It's been a very, very big issue. But you mentioned earlier that we're going to be missing two key players, Rashida Ajibade and Alimatu Ayinde. Alimatu Ayinde, especially in that midfield, is very vital, very important. But I don't know how the coach will actually set it up. But the way I think my probably actually I think he might probably go with Tony Payne in that midfield. So, but for me, I
Mhm.
think that we need to win the midfield battle. That is it. And we don't have our best lady there. We need to win the midfield battle. If you can actually want to win that midfield battle, because you can't expose what I don't know who is going to be in central defense. Maybe it's going to be Ashley Plunter and Onome Hebi or Osinachi Ali with Onome
No,
Hebi.
Ali.
Or, yeah.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but I think that we need someone that can protect them. It's very important. We need someone that can actually sit down and protect that defense because we all know against South Africa and the AFCON when they get exposed, it's a very, very big issue. So I think we can get the result. My mind is
Yeah.
telling me that in that game we might probably nick a win, but I think a draw might be good for us. You're smiling. Okay, yeah, we see. We can see.
I mean, nick a win. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we can. But of course, even if we're able to take just 1 point, it would be a good result going into the second game against Australia. Okay, that's a good one. Hopefully the game goes well for us and we're able to nick a result. Let's leave the Super Falcons a little bit now. We're wishing them all our love and support. But let's move on to other topics that we have on our schedule for today. Um, Super Eagles, still sticking with the national team. Of course, congratulations to the Super Eagles. They beat Sierra Leone. They qualified for the 2024 AFCON or 2023 AFCON. This thing is confusing with the way the dates work. But
Yes.
the 2023 AFCON is going to be played in 2024. They qualified. They beat Sierra Leone in a nail-biting 3-2 victory. Kelechi Iheanacho, of course, scored that goal after a brace by Victor Osimhen in the first half. Jesus Pesero is now out of contract officially with the Super Eagles. It's been radio silence from the NFF. I don't know, maybe they're not picking his own call too. But it's been radio silence. We haven't heard anything about a new contract. Do we have a coach right now? What's the situation, Smith Layi?
Officially, I think Posero is not the coach of Super Eagles, but I'm hearing communications from the NFF that his contract is tied to AFCON 2023. That's so until they play that tournament, Pasero will remain Super Eagles coach. But nobody
Mm,
has actually was come officially to tell us. But at least the way they communicate, they just throw it to the press and everything. That's so the way things are now. Tomorrow is going to be World Cup draws. Pasero is meant to be, represents like just be there as a Super Eagles coach, but I don't think he's around. He's not in Nigeria currently. You know, officially
mm,
in the press, we don't have a coach. But I'm suspecting that they might have renewed the man's contract till next year. But it's just not being communicated to
mm,
us. But officially, as we don't have a coach. But, we
mm.
never know. We
Okay, let
just
me ask you, if the NFF said that it is up to us. You know how they wanted to ask us. We had the reports and they wanted to just throw it to the
turn it.
public and
Yeah,
and do a poll.
yeah.
If they asked you, do you want Jose Pesero to continue as the coach, or do you want them to hire somebody else? What's your opinion?
Ah, it's tough. It's tough. One is wrong to seek for the public's opinion about hiring a coach or firing a coach. Is not. It's a technical decision. You have to
Mm,
look at it and see maybe this coach has actually met what they required, what you actually want him to actually meet. So hiring a coach is not democratic. It's like a marriage that you when everything was going well, you don't know, but you now want people to come and tell you maybe to divorce or not. When you married, nobody was there. So I think that it should not be something that you should bother Nigerians for. And if they even put it out, who tell you that they will not rig it? Who tell you that they will not just go and rig it at the so but for me, who? who should be the coach? It's so tough. I think I will still go with Pacero, and I have my reasons. I don't want us to make the same mistake of firing him now, not firing him now, like of getting a different hand for to settle down and things like that. And we all know in Nigeria that if they say that they want to let go a manager, they will put somebody there and in interim capacity. The interim might damage everything before the main person came. So if the interim is doing well, it will continue. The interim might damage everything, just like during the Oscar Gabon time. Kenneth Rock qualified for the AFCON
Pep.
World Cup playoff. The interim came to damage everything, and the whole thing just went. So we don't want those damage thing. They should stick with this man. World Cup qualifier starts this year. Let him continue. Any game that you lose or draw in a World Cup qualifier can hurt you when only group winners will qualify. Only group winners will qualify for the World Cup. So I think they should just leave him. Let him wumble and fumble. I know that him
Mm,
wumbling and fumbling will still get us somewhere than someone that's not really prepared at all.
mm. Good point, and I think I would honestly probably have the same opinion as yourself because we've seen this in the past. Even when we want the NFF to sack a coach,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the right preparation, the right tools to be able to hire the right person. Like
Yes.
you said, they'll bring in an interim.
Mm-hmm.
The interim can just come and scatter the whole thing. So at the moment, whilst Jose Pesero is not blowing us out the park.
Mm-hmm.
He's not doing anything spectacular. But I think that while winning, so for now, let them just allow him continue. Let
Yeah.
them take us to the AFCON,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see what happens. Again, like you said, World Cup qualifiers are coming up, and we definitely don't want to miss out on World Cup, especially now that we have at least 9 spots for African
Yeah.
nations. Let's talk about the draw very quickly. I mean, the draw is taking place July 13th. By the time this video comes out, the draw will probably already have been done. And all 54 CAF associations of CAF national teams have entered, while we've been split into 6 pots. And Nigeria, of course, were in pot one with Morocco, Senegal, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, Cameroon, Mali, and Ivory Coast. I wouldn't go through all the pots, but I'll talk about, pot two and pot three because pot two and pot three contain some interesting teams as well. In pot two, they have Burkina Faso, who we saw at the last AFCON. They have Ghana, who
Mm-hmm.
of course stopped us from qualifying for the 2022 edition of the World Cup. There's South Africa in pot two as well. South Africa recently beat Morocco
Mm-hmm.
in AFCON qualifiers.
Yes.
Cape Verde are there as well. We've played Cape Verde in recent years. DR Congo are in pot two.
Mm-hmm.
Guinea are in pot two.
Yes.
Gambia, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea,
Mm-hmm.
all in pot two.
Yes.
Pot three, they have Uganda, Benin Republic, Mauritania, Kenya, Congo, Madagascar, Guinea-Bissau, Namibia,
Mm-hmm.
and Angola.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just very quickly, I would also say we also have the people that we just struggled to beat. Sierra Leone are in pot four.
Mm-hmm.
Sierra Leone are in pot four. And then it begs the question. I'll start the question like this: if we are struggling to beat a team in pot four, what do you think will happen with the teams in pot two and pot three?
Yeah. Okay, let me just say it. This is like a marathon World Cup qualifier, and
Mm,
every match day matters. I can tell you that. The last time we had this type of draws was 2006 World Cup qualifiers. It was also a marathon. We were paired
mm,
with Algeria, Rwanda, Angola, Gabon. I think maybe probably yeah, 6 teams in a group. Yeah. Can you see? Rwanda, Algeria, Angola, Gabon. And we did not qualify.
mm,
So, because we're picking games, it's easy, we're going to beat them later and things like that. But I think that it's a very dangerous World Cup qualifier My take is this:
Mm.
every game really matters. Which you have learned our lessons that we must, any home or away, we must go there. For example, now in Port 2, the only team that can go there without that we can say, okay, we can beat, which we are not even sure, is Equatorial Guinea in Port 2. I can say, okay, because it's Equatorial Guinea. If we want to go and play Cape Verde
Yeah.
now, Cape Verde nearly knocked us out from the last World Cup qualifier. So Cape Verde, Guinea. So it's going to be tough. But one thing that might work well for Nigeria is this: most of these countries, they don't have stadium, so they'll be forced to
Mm.
play their away game in Morocco. For example, now Guinea have been playing their away game in Morocco the past 3 or 4 years. Their home games in
You
Morocco.
mean their home games?
Their home
Yeah.
games, sorry, in Morocco. So they will be forced to play away from home. So, and I think that that one can play in Nigerian hands. But another one is this: do we have home games? Do we have where to play our home game? Because the last time I checked, the Abuja Stadium have been no, they have been deemed unfit to host a CAF game. National Stadium,
Mm.
I just spent millions of naira on, have been deemed unfit to host a CAF game. So the only stadium now that can host a CAF
Mm.
game for Nigeria is the Uyo Stadium. So we need to get it right. Then start begging CAF that this thing, we need to get it right, that, oh, we are playing in Uyo and we are settled in Uyo. That's our home. That's our
Mm.
home ground. So, but I think that if we don't qualify for this World Cup, I don't think we can recover from it.
Mm. It would, I mean, it would be a huge, huge miss for us to miss out on this World Cup.
Two World Cups in a
I
row.
just did an interview, two World Cups in a row. I just did an interview with Taiwo Awoni. I'm just plugging my work a little bit. And in that interview, Taiwo said it, that he was devastated to have missed out on the 2022 World Cup. And by the time the 2026 one comes about, most of the players that are good players now, they will be around 28, 29, some of them even 30 at that time, and would they still be playing at this level? We don't know. There will be some other young boys that will be coming up at the time. Um, it would be a huge miss. Imagine Osimhen never going to the World Cup.
Imagine.
Just imagine. You know, just imagine. All these Chukwueze, all these players, and it would be a shame for us not to be able to do well enough. Of course, the guaranteed route is by finishing top of our group in the AFCON, other in the CAF World Cup qualifiers.
Yes.
Um, and we just have to pray for a favorable draw, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because if we manage to get Ghana in our rather in our group from pot two, anything can happen.
Yeah,
Like
nah.
you said, the only team there that we would even want to be 100% confident is Equatorial Guinea. Even in pot three, Guinea-Bissau just beat us not too long ago. So who knows what can happen if Guinea-Bissau from pot three
And I
happen
got
to
that
be in
because
our even in pot four, CAR beat
yes.
us.
Uh-huh.
CAR is a four.
Uh-huh.
They beat us.
Uh-huh.
So every game is going to be important. It's going to be home and away round robin matches.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first matches will take place in November.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll play like that for 2 years, all the way to October 2025.
Yes.
Um, I really want to see the Super Eagles in the World Cup. I want to be able to go because this one is going to take place in USA and Canada.
Yes.
So if we qualify, I'll be there live and direct,
Yeah.
cheering. I don't care which city, as long as
Yeah.
it's in USA and Canada and we are here. I'll make sure I go and
Mexico.
I'll watch the games. So
Yeah.
I hope they don't. I mean, not forgetting Mexico. Hopefully they don't put us in Mexico. I don't really want to go to Mexico. Excuse me, but but yeah, hopefully we can get the job done. It's going to be a tough battle, but at the same time, what do they say? They say in this life, good things don't come easy. You have to work for what you want.
Yes.
So
So
hopefully the boys are up to the task and can do a job for us.
yes.
Okay, let's move forward quickly. It's the month of July, and the month of July is hot in the football world. I'm now talking about club football. Um, Players are leaving one club to another.
Yeah.
Players are renewing contracts.
Yeah.
Players are rejecting new contracts. players are handing in transfer requests.
Yes.
Some players are being forced out of their clubs
Yes.
by the president. Some players are receiving ultimatum. We just saw PSG have given ultimatum to Mbappe. Is it sign or leave?
Yes.
Transfer window always brings of drama.
Yes.
So let's talk about some Nigerian players that are subject of transfer right now, or would be thinking who might be making a move in this window. I'll start from the players that were relegated from the English Premier League
Mm-hmm.
last season.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start from Leicester City. We had Kelechi Iheanacho and Wilfred Ndidi, both part of the team that got relegated. With Iheanacho, I know I heard some reports that Nottingham Forest want to sign him. I remember saying that I'm like, do I want him to join Nottingham Forest when they already have Taiwo and they already have Dennis? I don't know if maybe other clubs you might. I don't know if you have any for on any other clubs. Whereas Wilfred Ndidi, on my end, I've not really heard too much about Wilfred Ndidi. What do you think is going on with those two players and their potential moves?
Yeah, the two major clubs that have actually showed their interest in Kelechi is actually AS Roma and Nottingham Forest. And I'm not really sure that AS Roma really put up any official bid because their interest is subject to something. If a player leaves, they will go
Mm,
for Kelechi and Nacho. So, but because that player is still in their folds, they cannot make any move for Kelechi Iheanacho. But the way things are for uh Iheanacho, it's like Nottingham Forest looks like the likely destination. But Nottingham Forest have so many players on their wage bill. They need to get rid of some players before they can actually proceed with that deal. And it's quite unfortunate that we can only mention the club interested in Kelechi Iheanacho in the Premier League. It's a player that have scored every day of the week in the Premier League. The only player, the highest goal scorer,
yeah.
the highest goal scorer in the past few seasons in the FA Cup. He scores goals a lot in the Premier League, but unfortunately, we're only talking about Nottingham Forest in this case. So, I don't know what is really happening, but I'm hearing that Burnley too is there might be reunited with
Interesting.
Vincent Company because I think he played with him when he was in Manchester City. So maybe there could be reunited with Vincent Company, but I don't know. Maybe Burnley have the financial, they have the deep pockets. They get in to pay what Leicester
Mm,
wants, and you can see clearly that three players have moved on officially from Leicester. Uh, we can see that Tulemans actually moved to Aston Villa, and Madison
yeah.
too is in Tottenham. I think
Madison.
Having Barnes too is actually on his way to Newcastle. So you can see that
Yeah. And this guy, Soyuncu has joined Atletico Madrid as well.
there as well too. So you can see that our guys are not really high up there. Don't forget that 2 years ago it would have been Wilfred to leave first. They get it, but things don't
Mm,
really didn't really go well. So about Wilfred too, I'm hearing about Turkish club interested in him. I can't imagine Wilfred playing in the championship. I can't imagine that one happening. So I just hope that things could actually happen before everything before the transfer window opens. People have been talking about West Ham,
you know.
but the West Ham issue is like they want McTominay, the United player,
Mm,
instead of Wilfred.
mm.
So he's
And on the indeed the one. That's why, to me, all the things that I heard about in the moving, I don't want to count them. I know I was seeing Celtic. I think I once heard about Al Shabaab in Saudi, you
mm-hmm,
know, and I think I also heard Galatasaray. And
mm-hmm,
I'm thinking, how the mighty have fallen. That's what I'm thinking. Because indeed is a player that, like you said, 2 years ago will probably have been the first name that you expect to leave Leicester City. You expect a lot of people to be calling for a signature. But
mm-hmm,
football has moved on. And the interesting thing is that, like you said, West Ham are probably more interested in a Scott McTominay than a Wilfred Ndidi. Because now, for a lot of teams, dare I even say for most teams, They are interested in what you can do on the ball
Mm.
just as much as what you do off the ball.
Yes.
We saw a player like N'Golo Kante after leaving Leicester City. He was forced to play in a more advanced position. He was forced to be more of a midfielder than just a tackler. And I think it's the same thing that is starting to hurt Wilfred Ndidi small by small. A lot of teams are looking at him and thinking, okay, this guy can tackle, he can intercept passes, but when we win the ball, what else can he do for us? And I
Mhm.
think that that's why some people are not so interested in him. Teams like McTominay is not a fantastic player, but
Yes.
the reality of it is that McTominay is better on the ball than
Yes.
Wilfred Ndidi. It's just the
Yes.
reality. You look at a young player that is getting a lot of interest, like a Moses Caicedo
Hmm.
in Brighton. You
Yes.
know, tackling. If it's just tackling,
Hmm.
I would argue that Ndidi is a better tackler than him. But
Yes.
when you look at the all-round impact and what he can also do on the ball,
Hmm.
then indeed he cannot really argue and cannot really compare. So it's unfortunate. I I don't know if I want to see Ndidi in Turkey. Like for me, it would be a little bit weird, to look at a player like Ndidi and see him playing in the Turkish Super League. The Turkish Super League probably has maybe 10 good teams,
Yes.
and then the rest of the teams in that league are not very good. Um, or maybe, I hate to say it, maybe that's just his level right now. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, I'm very interested in seeing what happens to him between now and I mean another month at least that the
Yes.
window is going to be open for even more than that. Hopefully the right moves comes about for him. And yeah, he's able to get something good for
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't want that Turkey, man. I don't want that Turkey.
It's
We
what
already have enough players in Turkey. I beg. Let's keep it
we should.
let's keep it as it is.
Hmm. Even in Turkey, Turkish
Yeah,
national team don't even select that much players from their league. They go abroad to select
from their
some of
own
their
league. Mm,
players. So our player going to Turkey, for me, I think it's not a move. It's not a good move. For me, I think
mm,
people is working with should look for at least some we still want to gamble and take a risk. I think what's it called? Clubs like Fulham can look at him and see if Palenya is leaving, let's look at Wilfred. You get clubs like Fulham. So even if this guy is leaving, what's it called? The guy from Oiberg is going to Bayern because he's been strongly linked with Bayern. If he's leaving, why can't Wilfred replace him in Tottenham? So like I still think that if I'm not pretty sure that Brighton will go after him because Brighton normally focus on what he can actually do on the ball in the midfield. They are very particular about that. So, but I think that we
mm,
just hope that things work well for him too. I wish him best of luck.
mm. Okay, okay. Let's move on to the other two players that were relegated. I'm talking about the Southampton boys, Paul Onuachu and Joe Aribo. I mean, Onwatru, I think I've heard some rumors about him maybe going out on loan, things like that. And Aribo, some people have been talking about, oh, is he going to be going back to his former team in Rangers, and just go and shine there like he was shining before. What do you think the potential is for these two players? And have you heard of any more transfer rumors around them?
as usual, Ariba has been linked to Turkey again. So our players keep they get linked to Turkey all the time. Ariba has been linked to Turkey. The major
Mm,
event has only been linked to a club. That's Galatasaray in Turkey. So
mm,
and Paulo actually have been linked to a second division club in Germany. That is Shakaho. He has been linked to Augsburg to the fourth relegation in the Bundesliga last
mm,
year. He's also been linked to Stuttgart. Stuttgart played in the relegation playoff
yeah.
against Hamburg in the last year. So in the last season. So it's just let me just talk about Aribo. It's so unfortunate that Aribo things did not work out well for him. When he joined Southampton, we thought it was a good move because they are a very stable Premier League team as a time. But suddenly things just actually what changed. And you can't really fault his performance when he was called on. But there's some people, I see comments from Southampton fans and everything say that It's not really a Premier League player. That, but to me, what we saw in Rangers was different to what we saw in Southampton. I just hope that he gets to a place he can get settled, play in a rightful position, because I think throughout in Southampton too, he was playing different positions. He was playing up front. He was playing just in Rangers too. In fact, there was time in Rangers he played as a left back in Rangers. So I just think that
That's
maybe going back to Rangers could be the best move for him. Let him go and settle. He knows the guys there before. It's fine. At least we're having three players in Rangers if he joins. So I think Onuachu might probably go to
mm,
Germany. That's the likely destination. I don't think they want him in the. I don't think they want him in the championship. They have like other targets
mm.
that can help them get promoted. Yes.
Um, Interesting. And I mean, he's probably on big wages that they might not be able to pay,
Yes.
for a player that is going to be in the championship, for a team rather that is going to be in the championship.
Yes.
I mean, is he going to go and battle relegation again or get relegated again in Germany?
Yes.
Hopefully not. But let him just move and let him find somewhere that he can have a better season.
Yes.
And with Aribo as well, I don't know if he would want to stay in Southampton and fight. But Aribo, I think he has a lot of talent. He needs a chance to really show himself and to show what he's made of. We
Mm-hmm.
saw him for Rangers. It wasn't even just in the Scottish Prem. Even in their games in the Europa League, he was playing really well for them in the Europa League. So it's obvious that he can compete at a high level. Premier League, of course, is always a difficult league for players. But still, I have faith in the talent and the ability of Joe Aribo. I mean, I can still remember when Aribo made his first two appearances for Nigeria
Yes.
against Brazil and against Ukraine. It was as if, oh, more, who be this boy?
Yeah.
Where has he come from?
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate how things have turned out since then. But hopefully, he can get the right move,
Yes.
and can pick himself back up and get his career back on track.
Yes.
Since you mentioned Rangers, I'll move on to the club. I mean, still talking about transfers. We've seen two Super Eagles players join Rangers in this summer transfer window. I'm talking about, I think, 28-year-old striker Cyril Dessers. I think he's 28 years old.
Yeah.
Cyril Dessers, after getting relegated, with US Cremonese in Italy, he committed a move to Rangers, and he just had his first training session with them. I know that the fans have been cheering him on, have been adoring him. What do you think about that move, Cyril Dessers to Rangers?
Yes. Definitely it was so clear that Rangers wanted him before he went to US Cremonese, but at the end of the day, he got relegated. So he doesn't want to play in the Serie B. So he waited for offers in Serie A, but I don't think there was any serious offer. He actually went to Rangers. For me, I think it's a gateway to the Premier League. Yeah, if he performs well in Rangers, maybe score like 25 goals in the season, which is possible. Red Desert is a poacher. You get it? He scores goals. He lives like with goals. And I think, looking at the Premier League, when I saw Aribo play there, look at the Scottish Premier League, I saw Aribo play there. I think that Desert will tear the league apart. So if he's fit, I think that, if he can score 20, 25 goals in that league, you know, promotion chasing team in championship can gamble on him, or a middle table Premier League club can actually take him. So I think that it's not a bad move. So a lot of people condemn the move that, why are you going to the Serie A to Scottish League? It's too far from each other. But I just think that that one can be a gateway to the Premier League for him. So it's like and for me,
Let,
it's like a good move for him.
let me ask you, speaking about that gateway to the Premier League, do you think that a Premier League team would really sign him? Let's even say he has a 20-goal season for Rangers. At this age, he'll be 29 at the next summer transfer window. Do
Hmm.
you really think that a Premier League team would take their chance on a 29-year-old striker who has never played in the Prem?
Yes, they can. They can, because don't forget that he's a real 29-year-old, so it's not it's a legit 29 year. So and he can play in 34. but no Premier League club will offer him a 3 or 4 year deal. They could give him like a 3 year maximum, but he needs to hit the ground running in the
Mm,
Premier League, because if he like turn 30 before he start doing well in Rangers, it's going to be very hard for him. But if he can hit the ground running now and score good goals, I think that you might don't be surprised that it might be one of the contenders to go to the Nations Cup. But it's very unlikely. But you might just see his name pop up if he can hit the ground running. I
mm.
think Rangers is going to play the Europa League too, but I'm not really sure. So that
Yes.
one can also help him too.
Yes. They finished second, so they are going to play in the Europa League. I mean, it's interesting. I'm just wondering because honestly, there's some players that I know that have been doing well for Rangers for a little while now. Like I think of a player like Morelos, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Morelos was in Rangers for God knows how many years. I think since 2017 was
Mm-hmm.
their top striker, scoring a lot of goals. I don't think he's 28 yet. I think he's still 27. And there's never really been any talk of him moving to the Premier League.
It was great.
There's a player like I mean, fair.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
injured, but still, there's a player, a defender, James Tavernier, who I
Mm-hmm.
know I've also been following him at Rangers. When I watched Aribo Balogun them, and I'm like, this guy is doing well, but move to the Premier League has not come for him. I mean, now he's already 31, but he's been in Rangers since I think like 2015
Mm-hmm.
or or something like that. So for me, it could work out. It may not work out. We have to wait and see what happens. I mean, we also have our boy Nathaniel Ofobo, Nnamdi Ofobo,
Yeah.
who unfortunately is suffering with a heart condition, but
Yes.
he's also a Rangers. He didn't play last season,
Mm-hmm.
but hopefully he can recover, sometime soon and be able to get back on the football field. And
Yes.
then sticking with Rangers, one half of the Oyinbo War, Leon Balogun has just rejoined his former club Rangers, signed a 1 year contract after leaving QPR, playing in championship last season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Leon, it's so interesting when I was looking up the transfer details. I'm like, wow, Leon is 35 years old. You
Mm.
know, it doesn't seem it still looks fresher than some players. I'm like, oh, wow, is already on the older side. In another 1 or 2 years, Leon is probably going to be writing his retirement statements.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that move, Leon Balogun back to Rangers?
Yeah, it's like a good homecoming for him. He left for Rangers, came to Rangers. You know, so everything he went from Glasgow Rangers to Q Park VR to get ready. So Queens Park Rangers back to Rangers. So it's also Rangers to Rangers. So it's a good homecoming for him. I think when he was in Glasgow Rangers, he did extremely well. And these are things that you should do before you leave. You can still come back there, not as if you leave with a fight and everything. So he's coming back there. He knows the staffs, he knows the terrain. It's also in UK, so it's not far. Just take a train coming to from London straight away. So it's gonna be easy for him to pack his load going back to Edinburgh. So Glasgow. So I think that is very important that he settles too. But I think Balogun knows that the career is like going towards the end. So I think, it's good for him to go to Rangers, but I don't even see him playing regularly for Rangers because it's going to be more of, like experienced player trying to guide the young ones to come on and everything. So I wish Balogun best of luck. He has been a very good servant to Nigeria. I'm not sure. Maybe he will be in the next AFCON. But if the opportunity comes,
Mm,
I think he deserves to be there. And let's just give a good farewell for him.
mm. I mean, hopefully Balogun does not watch this interview and he's like, why are these people chasing me away? But obviously he's on the other side now. And
Yes.
speaking about the next AFCON, it's going to be difficult for him. He would need to play regularly for Rangers if
Yes.
he's going to make the next AFCON. But let's see what happens. Another player that has moved. We'll just wrap up very quickly. Another player that has moved. Um, the second half of the Oyinbo War, William Trist Ekong, he's packed his bags, he's left Watford, he's left the UK, and he's now a player for PAOK FC in the Greek Super League. PAOK, of course, is a team that has good success in Greece. This past season they were not so great. I think they qualified for the Conference League,
Mhm.
um, but they are a well-known team in Greece. We'll definitely say that. What you think about that move? What are we expecting from William Troost Ekong? Do you think that he's still competing at a high enough level?
With you respect, Greek league is not up there in terms of European football. You can see that one clearly. That their star team, Olympiacos, they are like nowhere to be found again. They get in European competitions. So I used to watch the Greek league, and you can see some Nigerians are there like Alagbe or things like that. But it's not the really where you want your players to be if you want your national team to actually what to be up there. Ekong is like a journeyman. Ekong has been everywhere. Ekong have played in Norway, they have played in Belgium, they have played in England, they have played in Turkey, they have played in Italy, they have played in, Balogun have only played in three countries, Scotland, England, and Germany. So, I think that just like Balogun, Ekong too, unfortunately, is, towards the end, again, of his career. And it's going very hard for him to even fight his way back to the Super Eagles now. About that move, for
But
me,
Ekong is just 29 now. Ekong is just 29.
I don't want to make a controversial statement, but I think Ekong overachieved. I think Ekong
Hmm.
overachieved. Ekong wasn't given a chance to actually make it to this level. So for him to play the Premier League and Serie A and play at the World Cup and play at the AFCON is good enough for him. Because I remember when he was in Fulham, he was in Tottenham, it wasn't rated. And when got signed by Gent of Belgium, KRC Gent, the same club that has Moses Simon there and Alex Etiti, Ekong wasn't playing. So I don't want to, he has to get loaned out to Norway from there to Bursaspor in Turkey with Sheu Abdullahi and Mikel Agu. So for him, I think that he's just knows that the level he can't compete more at that high level again. So that's me. For me, I think he actually was overachieved, and kudos to him that he could work his way to the top. I think it's high time that he knows that he needs to be looking at different directions. But
Hmm.
no,
Hmm.
not a
Interesting,
bad
interesting
thing.
comment there.
Yeah.
I mean, Ekong, wishing him all the best. I think I agree with you on the fact that the Greek league is not it's not high level competition that we necessarily want our players to be playing at.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I always say, Nigerian fans, we are the ones that always think so highly of our players. The rest of the world does not think of them that highly.
Yes.
And eventually we find them playing at these levels. Some
Mm-hmm.
people will say, why is he joining that team? It's a small club, it's a bad move. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, I always tell people now the one way the player Sinan go collect. He cannot force his way into any team.
Yes. Yes.
Now who wants sign him
Mm-hmm.
and go play for? I
Yes.
mean, he has played two friendlies for Pauk already since he joined. I
Mm-hmm.
watched about 50 minutes of their game today. Today they played against KRC Genk,
Mm-hmm.
with Aroku Daria and Yiraso
Mm-hmm.
in a friendly, and I watched the game. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. Yiraso happened to score in
Mm-hmm.
the game as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see what happens with William Troost-Ekong. Congrats to him on the move, and of course, we're wishing him the best of luck. Okay, let's wrap up our transfer talk by talking about another centre back for the Super Eagles. This one is a highly rated young centre back, currently on the books of AFC Ajax in the Dutch Eredivisie. I'm talking about Calvin Bassey. I
Mm.
mean, Calvin Bassey throughout this summer has been subject of interest, especially hearing that Brighton and Hove Albion in the English Premier League want to sign this boy as a potential replacement for Levi Colwill, who might be returning to Chelsea, his parents' club. I mean, I'll start here. I think if this transfer happens, it's going to be a fantastic one as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Brighton is a team that we know has a good system, has a good management, has a good coach with Roberto De Zerbi. plays fantastic football. Calvin Bassey is a highly, highly talented defender. We
Mm.
saw what he did at Rangers, saw what he did in the Europa League. Brighton, they like to play out of the back, they like to play with the ball. Bassey is also a player that is quite good with the ball. I think he would join a system that is well known for developing players and for making players better
Yes,
than how they actually are at the time that they got to the team.
yes.
So if Bassey joins Brighton, in my own opinion, within another 2 years, we'll be seeing a much better version of him. And I think that is something that Nigeria needs. We need a top level centre back. I'm not even saying it's going to turn into a world class centre back, but I believe that Brighton can turn him into a top level centre back. Um, and of course, playing in the toughest division in the world, playing in the Premier League, is going to also be good competition for him. It's going to force him to raise his level. Because if you are playing in the Premier League, today you are playing against Haaland, tomorrow you are playing against Kane,
Mm-hmm.
next tomorrow you are playing against Rashford.
Mm-hmm.
The other day you are playing against Bukayo Saka. You have no
Potentially,
choice but to up your
OT.
level, potentially playing against Osimhen. So he would have no chance to up his level. I'm honestly hoping that this deal can get done. It's been rumor, 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 rumor. I want it to actually happen officially. I want to see Calvin Bassey wear that jersey. Of course, we know how they've treated him at Ajax has not been the best. They essentially at a point they just made him the scapegoat of everything that was going wrong in their season.
Mm-hmm.
So Brighton will of course be a breath of fresh air for him. I'm hoping that this really comes to pass. What do you think about the potential move?
It was actually a very good move, a very good potential move. That's what I would just say. But this is not the first time that Brighton actually was wanted him. Under the former coach Grant
Mm,
Potter, Brighton wanted him to before he went to Ayers, and it's like Bassi have not been short of interest. Even when things weren't going well in January, it's like a unnamed Premier League club came with £25 million bid for him. The journalist revealed that in like a podcast
mm,
in Holland. So, it's not been short of what's it called? Short of sweeters. But I think from the Ayers point of view, you can see from their own point of view, they just sold Timber to Ayers now, and I think Timber is actually on the verge of completing his deal with Arsenal. I think it's
Arsenal.
their booked his medical now, so I think the deal is going towards climax now, towards the end. So I think they also want to know what the new coach wants to do with Bassi too. How can you sell your two most experienced centre backs? I know that they have Alvarez actually that normally play centre back for Ayers occasionally, but you want to sell the
Yeah.
two players at once in a single market. So I think Ayers too, they're trying to retain K, but I think for me, if the deal could actually would go through and pass it back to England, it's going to be so good for Nigeria. I just pray that Ayers can look at him and just say, oh, this boy deserves to leave. Let him just go. Because Brighton actually was ready. Because the deal with the Chelsea boy is not on the table again. Because Pochettino really wanted him and he's going to actually want to use him in that team. So I think Bassi to Brighton is a very good move for him and for Nigeria.
Mm. Okay. And I would actually bring up one more because I forgot I said last one, but I'll bring up one more. What do you think about the Samuel Chukwueze rumors? We've been hearing about AC Milan, AC Milan, AC Milan going in for Samuel Chukwueze. Of course, AC Milan, we also know that they've just signed Christian Pulisic, who is a winger as well. I mean, Chukwueze, for all the talents that we believe that he has, for as good as we think he is, for the season that he just had, hitting a double double in Villarreal. Why do you think a move hasn't happened for him or hasn't come for him yet? We know that he's entering the last year of his contract. So, of course, Villarreal will be looking to cash in now. Why do you think something hasn't happened yet? And do you think that the AC Milan one will come through eventually?
The AC Milan deal is very complicated. It's one side of AC Milan that's reporting it. That means that the side reporting about Chukwueze represents a particular interest in AC Milan board. But majority with
Hmm.
American owner and everything, they are tinted towards what Pulisic, and they've got what Pulisic over the line. So in fact, I was even hearing a rumor that those, it's like some those pushing for Chukwueze, They've already try and see if they could book medical for Chukwueze or things like that, But the way it is, since they've got policy, it's going to be very hard for them to actually get Chukwueze, because AC Milan, Villarreal wanted 80 million euro or so as a release clause, and it's going to be very hard for a club if you are not Osimhen or Mbappe and you have 1 year left on your contract, and somebody just come and say, okay, 80 million in this current economic crisis, say 80 million, take. Maybe the only club that can pay that money will be Al Ghafar or Saudi Arabian club that will just come in and pay and pay that money. I don't see any European club wanting to pay that money, or maybe panic from PSG if they lose Mbappe and they want to get players in as much as possible. So, but I think that there was interest from Aston Villa too because of the Unai Emery connection, but they need to let this guy go. Is it Bailey, the Jamaican guy? He's currently playing Copa America currently now, but it's just so complicated. And the way it is now, Chukwueze can negotiate with the club in January because he only have 1 year left on his contract, and there's no renewal on the table. So it's very complicated. But I think that they will sell him this summer. They can't afford to lose him on a free.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean, Chukwueze, hopefully he gets a move. Of course, he's reported back in training, pending when something happens. I honestly think that AC Milan would be a good stage for him. AC Milan is a big team, in global standards. AC Milan, they just got to the Champions League semi-finals in this past season.
Yes.
So if they sign him, I think we'll see our Nigerian players, potentially our starting attackers,
Mhm.
Lukman, Chukwueze, and Osime,
Yeah.
all playing in Italian Serie A.
Mhm.
So if they can light it up together, it will be good PR for Nigeria as well.
Yeah.
Just imagine you see the list of best players in Serie A, and it's 3 Nigerians in the list. It will
Yes.
be good PR for us.
Yes.
And if we can do well there, it would also be a good step for him to show himself.
Yes.
I mean, Rafael Leao is another fantastic player that plays for AC Milan. So
Yes.
if we can also have a good combination,
Mhm.
Leao on the left, Chukwueze on the right,
Yes.
the boss will be there, and maybe that Premier League move that he wants maybe will eventually come around. Okay, that brings us to the end of our first episode of the Niger FC podcast. It's been a lot of interesting topics discussed today. We'll be back again very soon. Stay tuned, subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, you like, you share the video. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to your podcast, make sure you subscribe to never miss an episode. Set those alerts, put on your notifications so that you know when we drop. There's going to be so much to talk about this summer and even moving forward to next season. The Women's World Cup, as we said, is kicking off for the Super Falcons on the 21st of July against Canada. So we'll, of course, be talking about the tournaments in detail once the games kick off. We'll do another breakdown before the tournament kicks off about our other opponents, Republic of Ireland and Australia as well. And then, of course, many, many more transfers. This is the Niger FC podcast. My name is AyoT, and my co-host is
Smith Layi.
yes. Thank you very much, guys.
All right.